Hello everyone, this is Crota going over the Heart of the Tomb or Heart of the Swarm abilities list and new units list. I know some of you guys out there have already read it up, and I have gone also to a couple of multiplayer panels, so I thought I'd try to give a little bit more insight, knowing a little bit more of the bigger picture. I was at the open fans or the closed fan site multiplayer panel, and also at the open panel on multiplayer on Friday, October 21st. So let's go ahead and get straight down into this. Now, I'm sure as I'm talking, you guys are reading some of this already. I'll try not to read it verbatim, and I'll talk about some of the new units and also the more critical key removal of some of the more iconic units from the Protoss army. Now, the Tempest is pretty much the new battleship or the new capital ship for the Protoss. One of the things that they really highlighted and they really showed was how effective the Tempest was at dealing with a lot of Mutalisks and, say, just mass air. Right now, Protoss doesn't have a really good way of dealing with mass air. If a Protoss player was able to get somewhere into 50 or plus Mutalisks at one time, there's not much that a Protoss player can do in order to try to combat that, as there's no real flyer AoE damage. So originally I thought that the Tempest was going to be the harasser unit by the looks of it, but because it wasn't to scale, the Tempest turned out to be much bigger. It has a really cool animation that attacks with this lightning orb effect. Now, I apologize for the audio quality a little bit. I am still recording from my laptop to get all of this information up to you guys quickly, as opposed to my desktop that has all the higher end sound equipment. But hopefully you guys are enjoying this from the convention, and I wanted to give you my thoughts as quickly as possible. I'll focus on Protoss this time around, as I know the videos will get kind of long. Now, so that is the Tempest. I didn't really get to see it used much in air versus ground, and I think this is going to be perhaps one of the problematic issues for the Tempest. With the Void Ray being a semi-capital ship and being so effective against ground buildings already, I don't know what its ground attack is going to be. So we'll see if whether or not the Tempest will have an AoE ground role, or if it's going to be similar to the Void Ray. I'm kind of iffy on the situation right now. We'll see if the Tempest does get upgraded or updated, or something happens, because right now I'm not quite sure how the Tempest fits in an air versus ground role. Now, the Oracle is perhaps one of the most interesting units, in that it's a harasser that does not kill workers. It has the ability to entomb mineral fields when they're being harvested. So by doing so, it prevents any harvester from being able to mine from those mineral fields. I believe Dustin Browder said that if it does happen, I think perhaps last anywhere from 30 seconds, maybe up to a game minute, because you could lose 500 minerals if you do not try to fight back and take down. If you do not try to fight back and take down the entombments on the minerals, those entombments or the entomb is in fact destructible. So if you have an army nearby, if you can't kill the Oracle, which most likely will happen since the entomb, or since the Oracle also has the other ability called Preordain, Phase Shift, which when targeting a building is like the ultimate disruption web. It allows them to phase out a building as though it's not there, making it so if you take a look at the animations, or if you've seen any of the videos, phase shifting a building is like disruption web. It can't attack, but if you phase shift a spire, it's like the Zerg player doesn't have a spire. They cannot trade Mutalisks during that time. And it can also not do any weapons upgrade. I think if you phase shift, say, a greater spire, it may actually delay it. And I'll have to double check on that for you. I don't know if you can target incompleted buildings, or buildings that are currently being rooted, or currently buildings that are under construction. So that is a definite question that I will have to ask for you guys. If I run into David Kim or Dustin Browder or Chris Metzen, I will go ahead and definitely do that for you. Now, Preordain also allows you to target an enemy building and figure out what technologies are being researched. I'm not sure if this is an active or a passive ability. I haven't played with the Oracle yet. It is a very cool looking spellcaster, I will say that. I was talking with the lead 3D artist for StarCraft 2, and when the Oracle kind of has like a it looks like a dark Templar technology. It has like that blue and metal teal. So it's from it's probably like a caster from Shakuras if you had to give it a little bit more of a history and a more of a background, and that it gets to like move around. And the Oracle moves very, very, very fast. Dustin Browder made a keynote to say that you could play a game, like you could play a very long game, the Oracle could harass you, and it never, ever, ever gets killed. Now, moving on to the new abilities of Protoss. The new abilities of Protoss, some of them seem very powerful and some of them seem kind of weak. We'll see how it goes. The new ability is called Arc Shield, one of them. It's basically, it allows them to add additional shield and building armor and turn any building into a temporary photon cannon. That's going to be very interesting to see how much it costs in terms of energy. Does it cost 25, the same as a Chrono Boost, or does it cost 50 or 100? Now, I also don't know if the Protoss Nexus got an energy buff yet. These are all things I need to go ahead and definitely try and play out for you guys so that there's a little bit more information out there. Now, the Nexus also has the ability to mass recall now that the mothership is no longer in the game. This does concern me. A lot of the games right now where you're trying to minimize your losses in any fight, anytime when you have units that are slowly dying and you know they're going to get lost, if you try to retreat them, it doesn't work. A Terran player running from a Protoss player, Terran players have Marauders, they can slow them down and try to whittle down the army. Same thing for the Protoss versus Terran. They have Stalkers which can go ahead and blink after a retreating army, taking down medevacs as well. Same thing happens for a Protoss army when they're trying to move in and attempting to push into a Zerg base. One of the things about Zerg is that they build up an army and they can reinforce very, very quickly. That's one of their greatest strengths. So if you overextend into a Zerg base, then usually the Zerg can say, you know what, I've entrapped you, you are now on my turf, I have creep tumors here, I have creep, you're in trouble. If the recall is that readily available, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, where a Protoss player has 4 bases, can recall his units back home, save them up, push them again, where the Protoss army can reinforce. The Protoss units are a little bit stronger, that Protoss Deathball can move out, engage, overextend itself, and then recall once again. Also, I need to see if there's any tech choices or any tech paths that are absolutely needed. So, or like, say if you need a fleet beacon or if you need a Twilight Council in order for that to happen, that may be a way to also balance it. Perhaps not the Twilight Council, perhaps the fleet beacon, since it's a little bit more powerful. But we'll definitely see how it goes. And yeah, that's my roundup for Protoss. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I hope to see you guys on Battle.net.